Breaking news this hour, Israel's defense minister says it's launched a preemptive attack against Iran.
Iran has since launched indiscriminate
one drone
across the region.
One runway, one moment that changed everything. At 22:03 Greenwich Mean Time on March 1st, 2026, a Shahed kamikaze drone crossed into Cypriot airspace, flew low and slow to evade radar, and slammed into a hangar at RAF Akrotiri, Britain's most important military base in the Middle East. It burst into flames, air raid sirens went off, non-essential personnel were evacuated. 2 more drones headed for the same base hours later, then 2 more after that. For the first time since 1986, a foreign power had struck British sovereign territory. And here is what Tehran almost certainly did not expect. Britain did not back down. It did not go quiet. Within hours, RAF F-35s were shooting down Iranian Shahed drones over Jordan. British Typhoons were intercepting Iranian cruise missiles bound for Qatar. British forces in Iraq were watching Iranian missiles land 400 meters from their position. And Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who had spent the first day of this war insisting Britain would stay out, was now on television telling the country that American forces had permission to launch strikes on Iran from British soil.
The United States has requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose. We have taken the decision to accept this request.
Iran thought Britain would watch. Iran was wrong. Here's what we're covering. First, how the war started and why Britain's initial refusal to get involved looked like the safe choice and why it wasn't. Second, the drone that hit Akrotiri, what it means that Iran struck European Union territory for the first time, and the military reality Britain is now inside, whether it wants to be or not. Third, where this goes next, and the specific escalation paths that could drag Britain from defensive enabler into something it has not been since Iraq. If you want to understand what is really happening between Britain and Iran right now, subscribe and stay with us. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran. The target list included Iran's nuclear infrastructure, missile storage sites, and command nodes. Among the dead, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader who had run Iran's clerical state for over 3 decades. Iran's response was immediate and wide. Missiles and drones flew across the region into Israel, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, Jordan, and Cyprus. Everywhere Iran had reach, it used it. The message was blunt. If you host Americans, you are a target. Britain's position at the start was equally blunt, and it was deliberate. Keir Starmer did not consult Parliament before the strikes. He had, according to reporting from The Spectator, already convened his National Security Council on February 27th, 1 day before the strikes began, where cabinet ministers including Ed Miliband and Rachel Reeves expressed opposition to allowing U.S. bombers to use British bases. When Trump asked for permission to use RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire and Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean as staging grounds for B-2 stealth bombers, Starmer said no. His government lawyers advised that participation would not be legally defensible. He stood by that decision publicly and said so clearly. The United Kingdom was not involved in the initial strikes on Iran by the US and Israel. That decision was deliberate.
The United Kingdom was not involved in the strikes on Iran.
Trump was publicly furious. He told The Telegraph the delay was something that had probably never happened between our countries before. He said it took far too long for Starmer to change his mind. He said he was very disappointed. The irony is that Starmer's caution did not keep Britain safe. It kept Britain out of the opening act, but the war had already decided Britain was in it. By March 1st, Iranian strikes had placed British personnel in direct danger on multiple fronts simultaneously. In Bahrain, 300 British military personnel were within 200 meters of an Iranian missile and drone strike on a U.S. naval base. In Iraq, an Iranian missile landed 400 meters from British troops stationed there as part of counterterrorism operations. British nationals were stranded across the Gulf. Gulf allies, Qatar, the UAE, who maintained defense relationships with the UK, were calling London directly, asking for protection. According to Wikipedia's detailed account of UK involvement in the 2026 Iran war, in a televised statement on March 1st, he announced that the UK would allow the United States to use British bases for the defensive purpose of destroying Iranian missile storage sites and launchers, the systems being used to fire into Gulf states and endanger British lives. He framed it under collective self-defense. He did not call it war.
The basis of our decision is the collective self-defense of long-standing friends and allies and protecting British lives.
1 hour later, a Shahed drone hit the runway at RAF Akrotiri. The timing created an immediate question that British officials have not fully answered. Was the drone a response to Starmer's announcement, or had it already been in the air before he spoke? According to the Wikipedia account and reporting by the UK Ministry of Defence, the necessary flight time suggests the attack was launched before Starmer made his statement, which means Iran had already decided to hit the British base before Britain formally entered the conflict. Think about what that means. Iran did not wait to see whether Britain would stand aside. Iran had already calculated that Akrotiri was a legitimate target, that Britain, by pre-positioning F-35s, radar systems, and anti-drone defenses at Akrotiri in the weeks before the war began, had already chosen a side. Tehran's IRGC General Sardar Jabari said it openly. He declared that RAF Akrotiri was in the frame and threatened to launch missiles at Cyprus with such intensity that the Americans will be forced to leave the island. This is not posturing. This is a direct military threat against a British sovereign base on European Union soil. Britain's response on the ground was fast. According to Time and Al Jazeera reporting, RAF F-35s shot down Iranian Shahed drones over Jordan on March 2nd using ASRAAM air-to-air missiles. A British Typhoon intercepted a drone bound for Qatar. British forces intercepted drones in Iraqi airspace targeting Western military positions. The UK sent a Royal Navy warship and 2 Wildcat helicopters to Cyprus to bolster drone defenses. Greece deployed 2 frigates and 2 F-16s. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte stated on March 3rd that the alliance would defend every inch of NATO territory if needed. And then came the detail that told the world exactly how seriously Britain was taking Iran's drone capability. Starmer announced that the UK would bring Ukrainian drone warfare experts to the Middle East to assist in the interception of Iranian drones, the same Shahed design that Ukraine has been shooting down for 3 years, and which Ukrainian specialists know better than any military on Earth. But here is the part that Tehran strategists may have genuinely failed to model. Because the one thing Iran didn't account for, the factor that could turn a British defensive posture into something far more dangerous for the Iranian regime, is not the weapons or the bases. It is the domestic political tripwire that Starmer is now standing on, and what happens the moment one British soldier dies. Britain is in a deeply unstable position right now. It is involved enough to be a target. It is restrained enough that it cannot deter Iran from continuing to strike. That is a dangerous combination. Starmer has drawn clear lines. UK bases cannot be used for strikes on political or economic targets inside Iran. Britain will not join offensive operations. There will be no regime change from British soil. He told Parliament directly that he remembered the mistakes of Iraq. He was speaking to a country that has not forgotten them either.
We all remember the mistakes of Iraq, and we have learned those lessons.
But those lines are being tested in real time. According to Al Jazeera's analysis from March 2nd, the legal architecture Starmer has built is fragile in one specific way. U.S. aircraft operating from British bases have approved target categories: Iranian missile storage, launch sites. But Iranian missile launchers are mobile. They are mounted on trucks. From RAF Fairford or Diego Garcia, U.S. aircraft face flight times of 7 to 9 hours to Iranian airspace, requiring patrol-based operations. In that environment, if a U.S. crew identifies a senior Iranian military commander in the same operational zone as an approved target, the line between defensive and offensive becomes a split-second decision that Britain has no ability to control. London must rely entirely on Washington's word that only agreed categories will be struck. And Washington is operating under Donald Trump, who has already publicly criticized Starmer for moving too slowly, too cautiously, and being too worried about legality. Meanwhile, on the domestic front, the Liberal Democrats and the Green Party have already announced they will force a parliamentary vote on British military involvement. Labour backbenchers are building an anti-war alliance in Parliament. Cyprus, the EU member state closest to the blast zone, is furious. The Cypriot government has condemned Britain for failing to clarify how its bases would be used and has not ruled out renegotiating the terms of the sovereign base agreements that have allowed Akrotiri and Dikelia to exist on Cypriot soil since 1960. Those bases are Britain's entire forward military presence in the Middle East. Without them, Britain's ability to intercept Iranian drones, support Gulf allies, or threaten Iran's missile sites largely disappears. Iran knows this. The IRGC threat to bombard Cyprus until Americans are forced to leave is not random escalation. It is a strategic pressure campaign aimed at the softest point in Britain's position, forcing Nicosia to ask London to leave. If that happens, Britain loses its Middle Eastern platform without a shot being fired at a British soldier. Here is what Iran's leadership needs to model, and may be underestimating. There is a scenario in which everything Tehran is doing right now accelerates the exact outcome it is trying to prevent. Iran's strategy appears to be hit British bases enough to pressure Britain into pulling back, without killing British soldiers, which would cross the line that even Starmer could not walk back from. It is a precise calibration, high enough to intimidate, low enough to avoid the political trigger. But that calibration is extremely difficult to maintain. According to the Wikipedia account of the 2026 drone strikes, 300 British personnel in Bahrain were within 200 meters of an Iranian strike. An Iranian missile landed 400 meters from British troops in Iraq. These are not near misses by a wide margin. They are near misses by the length of a football pitch. In a conflict with these operational tempos, dozens of drones and missiles in the air simultaneously across multiple countries, the probability that Iran kills a British soldier while trying not to is not zero. It may not even be small. If that happens, Keir Starmer's UK is not at war language collapses overnight. The domestic political calculation reverses. The British public, which currently shows majority opposition to deeper involvement, according to polling cited in the uploaded briefing document, has historically supported military action when British lives have been lost. See the Falklands, see Helmand, see the Houthi strikes in Yemen just months ago. A British death forces a parliamentary debate that Starmer cannot control the outcome of. It opens the door to a vote that could either mandate withdrawal, removing Britain's entire forward position in the Middle East, or mandate escalation, authorizing direct British strikes on Iranian military infrastructure for the first time since the Houthi campaign. Either outcome shocks Tehran. Because the regime has built its strategy around a Britain that stays in an uncomfortable middle, committed enough to be pressured, restrained enough not to strike back decisively. A Britain that either withdraws entirely from the region or enters the war as a full offensive partner destroys that strategy completely. Commander Shoruk, who runs Ukraine's most advanced ground drone unit, said something last year that applies perfectly to what Britain is facing now. He said you can reduce exposure, you can replace humans with machines, but you cannot eliminate the moment where a decision has to be made. Britain has been trying to make no decision. Iran has now made that option unavailable. The question is not whether Britain gets drawn deeper into this conflict. The question is which trigger pulls that happens on, Iran's terms or Britain's. Subscribe for more UK-related updates from the battlefield. Thanks for watching.